Hey mathematics learners, welcome to Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. So on today's video tutorial, guys, I'm going to be showing you guys how you work with the number scale to determine actual distance for the real life distance, okay? If you're given a measured distance, or how you work with the number scale to determine a measured distance on the map if you are given the real distance, okay? So guys, you already know with maps and plans, okay, there are different types of scales that you guys need to be able to analyze, or that you guys need to be able to work with, okay? There's a number scale. You need to be able to work with a number scale. You need to be able to work with a bar scale, and you also need to be able to work with a line scale, okay? But in this video tutorial, I'm going to be focusing on what you need to do if you're working with a number scale, what this number scale actually represents on a map, okay? Then we're going to look at a few examples together, okay? So let's see, you're given the number scale 1 is to 50,000. What does this number scale represent? Okay, so let's say you're given a map. Okay, this is the map that you're given, and at the bottom there of the map, you're given the scale 1 is to 50,000. Okay, so what does this number scale mean? The number scale basically means that if you were to measure 1 unit on the map or on the paper, it would be equal to 50,000 units in real life. Okay, so what do I mean by this? If I were to measure the distance from there to there, and let's say I got it to be 1 centimeter, okay, that basically means that in real life, okay, if you were to travel from A to B, that distance would be 1 centimeter multiplied by 50,000, which is equal to 50,000 centimeters. Okay, then we'll continue to basically convert that into maybe kilometers and meters. Okay, so that is basically what the scale means. 1 unit on the map is equal to 50,000 units in real life. Okay, so let's basically write that down even here. 1 unit on paper is equal to 50,000 units in real life. Okay, what do I mean by this? Let's say, for example, right, I'm going to use the same example. You are traveling from Johannesburg to Durban. Okay, so this is just a random map, okay, but I think my point will come across. So let's say you're moving from point A and you're going to point B, okay? And let's just say, oh, you're just moving in a straight line, okay? And I said to you, determine the real distance from Johannesburg to Durban. What would be the first thing that you would do in this case if we were not given the measured distance? If you were not given the measured distance, the first thing you would do is you would take your ruler and you would put the ruler, okay, obviously you draw a line from point A to point B, and then you'd measure that distance either in centimeters or millimeters, okay? So I'm going to measure it in centimeters. If you measure from A to B, what do you actually see? You see that, okay, the measured length from point A to point B, right? The measured length is the length on the paper is equal to 8.12334. I'm just going to say 8.5 centimeters, okay? So that is the measured length. And now I'm asking you to convert this measured length of 8.5, because this 8.5 centimeters, guys, is just telling us that on the map, when you move from Jersey to Durban, it's 8.5 centimeters, okay? But now I want to determine what is the real life distance, okay? You do realize that it's not going to take you 8.5 the distance from Johannesburg to Durban is not 8.5 centimeters, okay? So that is where the number scale comes in, okay? The number scale now comes in. This number scale is going to basically help us determine what is the actual real life distance from Johannesburg to Durban. Okay, so what are we going to do? We are literally going to take that 8.5 centimeters, because that is the measured length on the map, okay? And you're going to multiply by. We are going to use the scale to determine what is the real life distance. So we're going to multiply by what we want, which is the real life. And we're going to divide by what we have, which is the distance on the map. Okay, so if we do this, we will be able to determine what is the actual distance from Johannesburg to Durban. Okay, so if you then take 8.5 centimeters, multiply by what you want, which is the real life distance, which is 50,000, and you divide it by what you have, which is this 8.5 centimeters represents the distance on the map. So you divide by what you have of 1. What do you actually get? So if you take 8.5 centimeters and you multiply by 50,000, you will get 425,000 centimeters. Okay, so that basically means that if you were to travel from Johannesburg to Durban, the real life distance is 425,000 centimeters. Okay, and then from here, I could then further ask you to convert this real life distance into kilometers. So how would we then convert these centimeters to kilometers? Then we would just use the diagrams that are always used on my channel. Okay, and we know from kilometers to meters, you multiply by 1,000. From meters to centimeters, you multiply by 100. From centimeters to millimeters, you multiply by 10. From millimeters to centimeters, you do the reverse operation of what you did at the top. So you're going to divide by 10, divide by 100, divide by 1,000. We want to move from centimeters to kilometers. So all that you'd need to do then, right? We are currently here. We want to go here. Okay. So you're moving from the right to the left. So we're going to divide by 100. Then we're going to divide by 1,000. That is 1,000, not 100, to get our final answer. So then you would just then take that 425,123 centimeters divided by 100 divided by 1,000. What do you get? You will get 4.25 kilometers. Okay, so let's just say this is not from Johannesburg to Durban, because I mean it's not 4.25 kilometers for you to move from Johannesburg to Jozi. I mean from Johannesburg to Durban. So we can just maybe say from home, your house, to the shopping center. Okay, so that basically means that if you basically, the actual distance, okay, from your house to the shopping center is 4.25 kilometers. Okay, so all the time, guys, when you're working with a number scale, okay, most especially if the question doesn't even give you what the measured distance is, okay, you can start off by just measuring what is the measured distance on the map from point A to point B. And we found that, okay, the measured distance from point A to point B, okay, on the map is 8.5 centimeters. And then we can now convert that 8.5 centimeters into what the actual distance is in real life, not on the map, but in real life. If we had to now go from your house to the shopping center, what is that distance there? Okay, so the scale just helps us, it helps us determine what is the actual distance between 2 points. So that even if, let's say, for example, you're planning a trip, you want to go to Mozambique or Zimbabwe, and you're just planning a road trip, you'll be able to then just determine what would be the actual distance between maybe moving from Midrand to Zimbabwe by just using the scale that is given to you on the map. Okay, so now let's have a look at these examples that I've basically or these questions that I've written down for you guys. Okay, so the first question says, determine the actual distance in kilometers. Okay, so the first question is saying, determine the actual distance in kilometers if the measured distance on the map is 15 centimeters. So with this question is nice because they're already telling us what the measured distance is on the map. Okay, so here, just a tip, just highlight the important words. We are told what the measured distance is on the map, and that is 15 centimeters. And you want to determine the actual distance. Okay, so let's just write that down. Okay, question one, right? We are given the measured distance. What is the measured distance? The measured distance is equal to the measured distance on the map is equal to 15 centimeters. We want to determine what is the actual distance, okay, using the scale that is given to us. Okay, so what do? Obviously, we want to work with this 15 centimeters to help us get to our answer. You're going to write that 15 centimeters. Okay, we are going to use the number scale that is given to us of 1 is to 50,000. We already know that 1 is represents the units on the map, and the 50,000 represents the real life distance. Okay, so what are you supposed to do now? We want to determine what is the actual distance, so you're going to multiply it by what you want, which is the actual, and you're going to divide by what you already have. What do we already have here? We've got the measured distance, or we can just say the distance on the map. Okay, so what does this mean? All that this means is that we're just going to take that 15 centimeters multiplied by what we want, which is the actual, the real life, okay, which is that 50,000. And you're going to divide it by what we have. What do we have? What does the 15 centimeter represent? It just represents the length on the map. So we're going to divide by 1. Okay, so if you take 15 centimeters and you multiply it by 50,000 divided by 1, you will get 750,000 centimeters. Okay, so that basically means that the actual distance, okay, if you're not on the map and you're moving from one point to another, right, it is 750 centimeters. Okay, but this question asked us to determine this actual distance in kilometers. So then we need to further on convert these centimeters into kilometers. Why was this centimeters? Do you realize that the unit centimeters didn't cancel? Okay, we wrote that measured distance of 15 centimeters exactly the way that it was. It's 15 centimeters. That is the length that you measured on the map. It's 15 centimeters. And you multiply by 50,000 and divide by 1. Your number scale has no units. Okay, so whatever unit that you will get from your answer depends on what your measured length is. Okay, so in this case, because our measured length is centimeters, right, this centimeters is not canceling with anything, so then the final answer will be centimeters. However, because the question is asking us to then determine this actual distance in kilometers, we need to further on then convert these centimeters into kilometers. How do we convert centimeters to kilometers? We use the diagram. Okay, it's kilometers, it's meters, it's centimeters, millimeters. Okay, so we are currently at centimeters. We want to go to kilometers. So what do we need to do? We're going to take this value, we're going to divide it by 100, we're going to divide it by 1,000. Okay, so if you divide by 100 and you divide by 1,000, what do you get? 750,000 divided by 100 divided by 1,000 divided by 100 divided by 1,000. What do you get? You'll find that, oh, actually, the actual distance is 7.5 kilometers. Okay. Okay, so now what happens? If now the question is asking us to determine the measured length, right? In this case, we want to determine the measured length. in centimeters on the map if the actual distance is 20 kilometers. Okay, so what is given? Write down what you are given. Okay, we are told that the actual or the real is equal to 20 kilometers. What are we trying to determine? We're trying to determine what is the measured length on the map, on the paper. What is it? Okay, we are still going to use that number scale of 1 is to 50,000 to help us get to our answer. The 1 represents the units on the map. The 50,000 represents the units in real life. Okay, so what do we want? We want to, how are we going to get to our answer? You're going to take that 20,000 kilometers because that is the only value given that will help us get to our answer. Okay, then you multiply by what you want. What do we want? We want the measured length. So we multiply by the measured, okay, multiply. What do we want? We want what are the units on the map. So that is what we want. Divided by what do we have? Okay, this 20,000 is what we have. And what does that represent? It just represents the real life. Okay, so that is how we're going to get to our answer. So if you take 20 kilometers multiplied by, okay, what value represents the units on the map? It's 1. Divided by what value represents the units in real life? 50,000. Okay. And whatever answer that you're going to get, guys, it's going to be in kilometers. Do you see that the kilometers haven't cancelled with anything? So your final answer is going to be in kilometers. Okay. So 20 kilometers multiplied by 1 divided by 50,000, you will get 0.0004 kilometers. So that means that that is the measured length on the map in kilometers. However, the question asked us that we need to determine the measured length in centimeters. Okay, so we need to then convert that kilometers in centimeters. So we need to then convert these units in kilometers or the measured length in kilometers, right, from kilometers to centimeters. And what do we do? What do we use to help us to convert? We use a diagram. We want to move from kilometers to centimeters. So we're moving from the left and we're going to the right, okay, because we want to get to centimeters. So we are going to then multiply the value by 1,000 and multiply by 100, and that will put us at centimeters. Okay, so then you're going to take that 0.0004 kilometers, we're going to multiply by 1,000 and we're going to multiply by 100. This is going to give us the value in centimeters. Okay, so therefore it is 40 centimeters. So that is the measured length on the map. Okay, so that is our answer. The measured length on the map is 40 centimeters, okay, in this case. But the real life distance was 20 kilometers, okay. For question 1, we calculated that the actual distance was 7.5 kilometers when the measured distance on the map is 15 centimeters. Okay, all right. So the key here, guys, is just write down the information that is given to you. Okay, what is the measured distance on the map? Okay, what are you trying to, what is the actual distance? Okay, if you're not given that value, put a question mark. Okay, and then you're going to use the number scale. It represents, the 1 represents the units on the paper, and the 50,000 in this case represents the units in real life. Okay, so if you already know that, for example, they tell you that the measured length is equal to 50 centimeters, and you want to determine, if they tell you that the measured length on the paper or on the map is equal to 50 centimeters, and you want to determine what is the actual or the real distance Okay, that's what you're trying to determine. Then you just take that 50 centimeters. You multiply by what you want. What do you want? You want the real distance? The real? Divided by what do you already have? It's just the units on paper. Okay, so in this case, then it's just going to be 50 centimeters multiplied by what value represents the real? It's that 50,000 divided by what value represents the on paper? It's the 1. Okay, then you get your answer, which is 2,500,000 centimeters. Okay, and depending on what the question asks you to write the final answer as, that will guide you on whether you need to convert this into kilometers or meters. Okay, so guys, that is it for today's video tutorial. I just thought it would be necessary for me to just do an additional explanation on how you work with a number scale to determine actual distance or to determine the measured distance. Okay, and I hope that it basically helps. Okay, and in the next video tutorials, guys, I'm going to show you guys how you work with a bar scale and your line scale to help you determine measured distance, actual distance. That is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload, Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. Bye, guys.